Interesting. Stream key. Hold on. There we go. Stream key. Boom. Hold on. Stream key. Copy it. Alexa, stop. Yeah. All right. Whoever's watching me live on Rumble, let me know if you guys can see me on Rumble. I'm trying a new streaming platform. I'm trying Restream out. Restream seems to be pretty clear and nice. Just want to make sure it's working. So let me know if you see me on Restream. All right. Not Restream. Let me know if you see me on Rumble. Yeah, I'm gonna start doing podcasts now. I'm gonna stop doing the TikTok stuff. I mean, I'll go live simultaneously from TikTok when I'm talking, and see how that goes. You just got a notification on IG. Really? So they giving notifications? They letting people know that I'm live on IG? Well, just put something in the chat. All right. Let me see. Show on Restream. Oh shit. Wait, what is that? This is some demo shit. Hold on. All right, but yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna give you guys a second to come in. I'm still trying to figure this out. So this is just really like a little test episode. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, somebody just type something in the chat just so I know that I'm streaming. Because I'm supposed to be streaming right now on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. I thought I was streaming on Instagram, but I can't confirm if I'm on Instagram right now. So let me know if I'm streaming on Instagram. Yeah, you asking on TikTok, right? Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm talking to my TikTok audience or Rumble to type in comments. Yeah, just type if you could see me on any of the other platforms, just type something over there in the comments, not here on TikTok. Go over to that platform and just type in the chat just so I know. Because it'll show up right here. I want to see, what shows up. Because then I will be able to, I'm figuring this out, so then I'll be able to share it on the screen. You're on IG and TikTok for me. All right, so I am on IG. Okay, cool. Oh, you don't have Rumble? All right, no, that's cool. Whoever has Rumble, y'all just check it out. What about Facebook? That's what I want to know. Am I streaming on Facebook? That's the one I really want to know. Let me check. Actually, I could check. Because Facebook, they just got me permanently blocked every time I go live. Let me see. All right. It says I'm live on Facebook, but I'm trying to see. Oh, they got me hidden. Look at that shit. Yep. So they got me hidden on Facebook. How do I make it public? One second. Is it here? Yo, this is crazy. Here we go. Nope. Yeah, they got me blocked on Facebook. Yeah, I'm gonna kill it. Manage your videos. Yeah. All right. Let me kill Facebook. Yep. All right. Okay. It's not Democrat, it's Republican, man. Oh no, it's definitely Democrats. That's actually what I wanted to talk about here. You know, the whole collapse of Spirit Airlines, what we've been talking about. I think a lot of people just aren't aware of everything that happened. So we're going to talk about it. All right. I actually wrote about this recently, and I wanted you guys to understand and get the full perspective of what's going on with this whole situation with Spirit Airlines collapsing, because now it's leading to JetBlue. They're on the verge of collapse. And the reason why I'm saying that Democrats are responsible for this is because they are. Now, it seems like everyone's timeline started with Donald Trump and the war in Iran, and they're blaming him for the ultimate demise of Spirit Airlines. But you guys are leaving out, like, there are people who are leaving out, like, the whole entire story. And the one question I would want people to ask is, why is it that 60 days of higher fuel prices, why is it that 60 days of higher fuel prices led to the total collapse of Spirit Airlines? Why hasn't any other airline collapsed? Has anyone even thought about that? I understand that it's easy to just blame Donald Trump for everything because, you know, it's convenient. And while I am a person who does not agree with this war in Iran, I'm also objective enough to realize that this has been an ongoing problem since the Biden administration, which is the administration that sued JetBlue to prevent them from acquiring Spirit Airlines. But no one wants to talk about that. And here's the interesting thing. Under the Obama administration, we saw the consolidation of what we now call the big four airlines, right? That was that's when Delta Airlines, where they bought Northwest. And then you also had United Airlines when they merged with Continental Airlines. You had Southwest, which they bought AirTran, and you had American Airlines where they merged with US Airways. And so that's what consolidated into what we call the big four, the big four airlines that have been dominating the market. And one thing you know about the big four is what? They're more costly to travel on those airlines. And there have been specific airlines that have been more budget friendly for people who find it hard to afford the rising cost of airline tickets. And that's been JetBlue, it's been Southwest Airlines, and what's that other rinky dink airline? Frontier, Frontier Airlines. Now, those have been the low cost airlines that have been creating the balance in the market that would put pressure on the larger, more expensive airlines to keep their prices low. Because when you, I mean, that's what the free market is, right? Competition. When you have someone that comes in and they're offering lower prices, it creates a balance. So those who are overcharging you, it incentivizes them to lower their price point. So that's where you find your balance in the market. And it gives people an option, an affordable option for travel. And what's interesting to me is I see a whole lot of black people out here who are Donald Trump, he destroyed Spirit. No, no, Donald Trump did not. Why didn't Spirit Airlines have the money in the first place to survive? Could it be that Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren and AOC and others, they championed the Biden DOJ to stop the acquisition of Spirit Airlines by JetBlue under the guise of antitrust laws? Now, here's the interesting thing about it. You talk about antitrust laws. What's the purpose of these antitrust laws? Isn't it to prevent monopolies and the domination of a market that eliminates competition? So here's the interesting thing. When it came to the acquisition of these airlines by the big four, Delta, United, what else? Southwest and American Airlines, none of that violated the antitrust laws. By the way, all those acquisitions took place under the Obama administration. So you saw those huge acquisitions that led to these huge dominant airlines that have been overcharging Americans for years. Now, under the Biden administration, the two little engines that could, JetBlue and Southwest, which were the only airlines that were offering real affordable options. Now we know not Southwest, I'm sorry, Spirit. We know Spirit is a little ghetto, right? We know that. That's like the Section 8 airline. We got that. But JetBlue, they offered to purchase it. They went into contract to acquire Spirit Airlines and raise the standard from the EBT standard and pull them in, reel them in to a better pricing and overall standard for Spirit Airlines, which would now become a larger JetBlue fleet. Sounds great, right? You got the lower price options to create that balance from those higher tier airlines that have been dominating the market with higher prices. But what did the Joe Biden administration do? They sued to stop the acquisition, citing antitrust laws. But wait a minute. Why is it not a problem for the big four to swallow up airlines, smaller airlines? But when it comes to JetBlue, which is one of the most affordable options, you decided that no. That's eliminating competition. The cheaper airline, which was much needed competition to facilitate air travel for people who just don't have all of that money. So for me, when I see people from so-called minority groups blaming Donald Trump for the Spirit collapse, when the people that you've been voting for 60 years are responsible for its demise, it's crazy to me. Why are you not looking at the fact that Spirit Airlines was in their second bankruptcy after Joe Biden and them killed the deal? And do you know why JetBlue is now on the verge of selling, one of the last bastions of hope for budget travelers? Yeah, that's because when they went into contract with Spirit Airlines to purchase it, there was an addendum in there. There was a caveat in there that if by any way they backed out of the deal or the deal fell apart, they would have to pay like $450 something million to Spirit Airlines. Well, the Biden administration made sure that they killed the deal. And guess what? JetBlue had to pay $500 million to Spirit Airlines. Now, what did that do? It was a rapid infusion of a little bit of capital, but not enough to save the airline. So not only did it just give Spirit a slightly longer lifeline through, so that it would still ultimately collapse, but what it also did was it financially devastated JetBlue Airlines that was actually acquiring Spirit to increase their fleet and increase their revenue to make themselves more competitive against these much larger, dominant, expensive airlines. So the Biden administration decided, oh no, these cheaper options are unacceptable. We're going to stop this deal under antitrust laws, even though we allowed all of the big four to acquire and swallow up the other airlines. Bro, this is literally socialism for the wealthy. But y'all keep voting for Democrats. And this is why it's hard for me to have these conversations with people who don't do research. They don't know anything other than Orange Man bad. Do I agree with everything that Donald Trump is doing right now geopolitically? No. But am I smart enough to know that the gas prices for the last 60 days are not responsible for the collapse of Spirit Airlines? Yes. So the question is, why aren't you smart enough to know that? Why is it that every time I go on like Facebook, these meta platforms that are just basically Democrat echo chambers, you guys, you insult people for trying to educate you, and you don't know what you're talking about. It's embarrassing. So once again, the question is, why is it that Spirit Airlines couldn't afford 60 days of higher fuel prices? Let's start there. Was that Donald Trump's fault? How about this? Why was Spirit Airlines in their second bankruptcy? Can anyone answer that question, boys and girls? Or is it just Orange Man bad? I'm terrified for our society because you see what's happening right now? I'm wondering what's going to happen to all of you people who are flying Spirit, who are flying JetBlue when those airlines disappear. What's your next option? Has anyone thought about that? So I would love to hear what you guys have to say about your champions, Elizabeth Warren and others. As a matter of fact, let me help you out. Let me help you out real quick. This is Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. And what's so funny is I did a video this morning, right? And I was talking about this. And maybe about 20 minutes ago, I saw this. So let me play what he had to say, because it kind of sounds like he agrees with me. But let's just listen.
Between JetBlue and Spirit. And Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg, along with the Biden DOJ, decided that they did not want that merger to take place. And at the time, the Biden and Buttigieg DOJ bragged and said, as they canceled the option for this merger, that this was a victory for U.S. travelers who deserve lower prices and better choices. And this today would indicate this is not better for travelers. This is not better for pricing. This is not better for competition. Actually, it's worse. We had an airline go down because the markets were trying to allow two airlines to merge, make them stronger, and offer more competition for the American consumer.
That's it. But I realized that you and Mike.
Absolutely. You heard it there. So I guess I was right. They eliminated the competition. The Biden administration eliminated the competition. Now, let's see who was involved in that, right? Who was at the front? Who was leading the charge at the time? Now, we know it was Elizabeth Warren, right? And I remember when they effectively killed the merger, she posted on X, she was so proud and so happy, and the Biden, Joe Biden did it right. How do you all feel? So I'm wondering, to all the black folks who are out there, because I'm wondering, I know a lot of black folks that need affordable options when it comes time to fly. Are y'all prepared now that you got to take all of these super expensive flights? I'm trying to understand this. Now, I also, where is it? I had a letter. I'm still learning this app, so let me see. I have a letter from, you know what? I'll just pull it up here. Where is it? I think it's right here. Yep. All right. Share this. There we go. Let me make it bigger so you can see it. Yeah, this was a letter to Pete Buttigieg under the Biden administration when they were talking about this is, let me see if I can scroll this. To the Honorable Pete Buttigieg. Dear Secretary Buttigieg, we write regarding JetBlue's reported attempt to rig the Department of Transportation's evaluation of JetBlue's application to consolidate with Spirit Airlines. A Bloomberg report, they're citing a Bloomberg report, revealed that JetBlue orchestrated a campaign to flood the government with thousands of online comments from employees in favor of the airline's bid to merge with Spirit Airlines, Inc. But it appears many of these employees either didn't consent to having their names used publicly or didn't understand the form would lead to a public comment in support of the acquisition. See, so they're basically trying to make it sound like the JetBlue employees were against the acquisition, when honestly, that's not even true. But this was one of their main excuses. And another excuse that Elizabeth Warren used at the time was to say that the acquisition was going to lead to $1 billion more in spending against the customers, which was bullshit. But let me go down to the bottom of the letter, because basically this was their plea to get Pete Buttigieg to kill this deal. And when you go down, let's see whose signatures are on this. Oh, we got Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren. We have Katie Porter. We have Pramila Jayapal. Who's that? Greg Caesar? I don't know who he is. Jesus Choi Garcia, Summer Lee, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I mean, bro, we know who killed this shit. We know who killed this deal. So when you guys keep saying that Republicans did it, you're not sounding very intelligent. Republicans are not responsible for the collapse of Spirit Airlines. It's Democrats. It was the Democrats who pushed this. It was Barack Obama, a Democrat administration that allowed the consolidation of the big four airlines that are dominating the market. And it was the Joe Biden administration, aka Obama administration number 3, an auto pen, that denied the acquisition of Spirit and the merger between Spirit and JetBlue to maintain affordability in air transportation. So yes, what did they do? They killed the little guy in order to protect the big dominant players. Now that is your Democrat Party for you. They continue to lie to you, and you continue to defend them because no one is willing to do the research. And when people try to inform you, you attack them with insults while doing absolutely zero investigation. And this is a serious problem. We're heading toward, and you know what's funny? Democrats love to use the words, like the tag words, affordability, crisis, constitutional crisis, when they are literally actively working to destroy the wealth, the independent wealth of every single American and make you more dependent on the government. Because when you cannot afford to live, who's going to feed you? Who's going to house you? Which one is the party that is always trying to push you towards entitlement, bigger government, more government dependence? It's Democrats. Now, is that to say that Republicans are this great party? No. I have a lot of issues with Republicans, but I think we've been lied to and propagandized for so long that we don't even realize that we don't have a revenue problem in this country. We have a spending problem in this country. And because of that, we're wasting money. We're allowing this consolidation of power to the biggest players, and we're continuing to extract money away from the middle class, if there is even a middle class anymore, and we're relegating people to a position of unsustainability and poverty. So now I'm just letting y'all know, if you want to travel, when you're ready to travel, y'all better start looking at Amtrak and Greyhound, because you're not going to be able to fly anymore. That's where we're at. And by the way, if anyone wants to actually do like some reading on this to understand what's really going on, I'll forward you guys. I'd send you guys to just go check out my Substack. I'll put it on the screen here. Right here. You can find me at Kingsman Reports, all right? Or Tony L Talks on Substack. I have a Substack, and I write much better than I speak. And it's harder to argue with an article. So I suggest you guys, I recommend you guys go over there and you read. If you want to actually learn about what really happened to kill Spirit Airlines, just go over there to Kingsman Reports on Substack and look for the article, When Antitrust Protection Shields the Giants, How Blocking JetBlue and Spirit Killed the Competition. Because now, folks, it's not even just Spirit that has gone underwater. JetBlue is drowning as well. And that's a serious problem, because the outlook looks bleak for the next 24 months. Because after that, JetBlue isn't even sure if they'll be able to survive. And they're already looking for someone to sell to. And I believe they've already been courting Southwest. We don't want JetBlue to be swallowed up by the big four. Right now, there are 5 real options, right? I don't even really consider Frontier Airlines like legitimate, but I'm telling you, you guys are allowing this upward transfer of wealth and power and consolidation and eliminating options for you. And while you're caught up in the social aspect of your politics, you're not looking at things economically, and you're not understanding how Democrats have been actively subverting the American people for a very long time under the guise of affordability. And they've been basically bamboozling you into believing that they're advocating for you while they're openly hostile against you. And most people are just not smart enough to understand it, or they're not informed enough to understand it. So, yep, that's what I wanted to talk about right now. And let me see if I can go over to TikTok and add this. I never did this before, so let me try this. Share this tab. Let me see if this works. Hold on. I actually want to see if this is going to work. Oh, it shows it. Wait, hold on. Yes. All right. Now I need to know if you guys are going to hear me here. All right. So how do I do this? I'm going to mute this mic and I'm going to start talking through here. So hold on. Start talking through here. So hold on. Boom. And there. Okay. I need somebody to go over there and let me know if you could, if there's no echo. All right. There should be no echo. Right now, there should be no echo at all. Let me know. I just want to make sure before I continue. There's no echo? All right, cool. All right, so this is my little bootleg way of bringing TikTok on here. Okay, so let's see who's here. Hello. Oh, wait. Oh, she didn't come up. Somebody come up. No echo? All right, cool. Let me pull somebody up here. Where's Chombo? All right, here we go. We have some requests. Hey, Aaron.
Hello. How are you?
Oh, shit. Wait, I can't hear you. Hold on. Now I can hear you. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes. How you doing?
Great topic.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's, something to think about too. And I think that it also, how many of them now, the nice thing is that you just said all the Democrats that signed on to it before, now that it's actually going into effect, they can't stand around and say that it is Trump's fault. They are the ones who signed off on it. They were pushing for it. So.
Yeah, but the funny thing is now you have people like Elizabeth Warren coming out now blaming Donald Trump for the collapse of Spirit Airlines when she was literally the champion of killing the acquisition, which is what put them in their bankruptcy and where they couldn't afford 60 days of higher fuel prices. Like, this is the crazy thing to me. We're not doing any research. So because the higher gas price, an airline that was struggling to stay above water, they drowning. It's not changing the fact that they drowning. They're trying to tread water, but then that little bit of pressure from the fuel prices, it sent them under. So it's now Donald Trump's fault, and it had nothing to do with why they were economically unviable, bankrupt, and didn't have any money in the first place. This is the level of understanding and cognition that we're dealing with today. And it's very frustrating. And I blame the media a lot for this as well, because we have such a propagandized media that is playing to the sensitivities of the public, but not the intelligence. That is our major problem. And you now have like countries, like you have like the UK passing laws to try to, or proposing laws, they're in discussion now, to force YouTube, platforms like YouTube, to prioritize their corporate or government sanctioned media to be prioritized over regular creators. So meaning they're going to deplatform people who are like independent media, independent journalists, to prioritize like the CNNs and this MSNBCs. And this is what I've been warning about for a long time. You know, the whole cable TV model, the corporate news media model, it's dead. But they understand the value of social media, the internet, and how, you know, the whole landscape of news media and reporting and journalism is changing. So now what they're doing now is they're literally passing laws to try to force them into that space right back at the top after they've killed the other media model, and take all of the people, all of the creators who have been making money on this app, the people have been providing valuable information. Now they're going to deplatform you. And don't think because it's happening in the UK, because it's happening in Europe, it's not going to end up here in the United States. Why? Because we have agencies like USAID, NED. We have all of these NGOs that have been paid for by the United States, where they've been funneling money. They've been funding censorship abroad. But no one knows that, because no one's interested to investigate anything beyond Orange Man bad. And that's what's frustrating for people who actually do research and understand policy. And I'll end that rant for right now.
Yeah.
Hi, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, We were going down that same road before the Twitter files, before Elon Musk purchased Twitter. We were going down that same road. That's what they were doing. They were shadow banning, and they're still doing a lot of that. And I did read too that Elon Musk actually, because the Europe was wanting to, I think they were going to fine him all this money, so you can't get access to X right now from certain parts of Europe. And he actually, from what I was reading on that, because they were going to force his hand, and he said, fine, you can't have it done. And that was it.
Yeah, I just we need to. How you doing, Keisha?
Good, and you? I say I was definitely trying to wait in between. But yes,
Sorry.
Delta is you said it all right there, because if you as a business model can't survive with 60 days of a little bit higher gas, then that is a business model problem. I'm so tired of everything being orange man bad. It's just everything blame Trump, blame Trump. You cannot blame him for everything. And I'm a conservative, so I am still in support of what he's doing and everything, but I'm also a retired Army. So I, have a certain way how I feel about this country, and I think he's doing a lot of great things. But yeah, everyone blaming him is just crazy to me. You can't only blame Trump on everything that goes wrong.
Exactly. I 100% agree with you. And that's one of the biggest problems that we have today is the partisanship, the level of partisanship that we have. Thank you for the gifts. We're trained basically to see everything in our own factions, our own silos, that we're unwilling to even consider, hey, wait a minute, maybe everything that other side is doing isn't bad, or maybe everything that Donald Trump says isn't a lie. We're not willing to actually look into the details to understand why certain things are being done. And all the meanwhile, you're not questioning the people that you've been supporting unconditionally. And that's really terrifying, because the same way we just described the media, right, with how they're trying to consolidate all of the power through media, all of the voices, all of the information. They're trying to take it and monopolize it, basically to the behest of the government. Look at what they just did with Spirit Airlines. They're continuing to consolidate power and disenfranchise American citizens. And we continue to be fooled under this orange man bad. Honestly, to be honest with you, when I think about it, it's kind of like, damn, I just want Donald Trump to hurry up and get this over with and get out of office, because and I'm not saying it the way most of y'all think it is. I think Donald Trump has been very useful in exposing the grift within our government, and also the global system as we see it, because he's very inconvenient. Donald Trump has been saying the quiet parts out loud, which have disturbed the corrupt establishment in this country. It has disturbed the globalists and their agenda. So Donald Trump is pretty inconvenient. Does he get shit wrong? Yeah, he does. Does he have like verbal diarrhea of the mouth? Yes, he does. But I think that's exactly why he has been effective to date. But what happens when he is gone? When he's out of office? Who is going to lay all of this shit bare for you? So while you have this opportunity, whether you like Trump or not, to see all of the corruption within your government, when are you all going to take a stand and do something about it and hold these people accountable? 97% of incumbents in Congress, they get reelected. Yet we complain about Congress all the time. And I've been saying this. Trump ain't the problem. It's your Congress. Half the people that I talk to don't even know who their representative is in the House or their senator. They just don't know. And if you even look at the polling today, only 10% of the American people approve of Congress. Who is the one that's writing the laws and shit? It's Congress, your legislator. These are the people that you need to hold accountable, instead of allowing them to turn you into these blind, aimless factions. And I'll land there. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So, Keisha, first, thank you very much for your service. And it must pain you to see people behaving like hateful toward our country and stuff. So there's that. Also, when we talk about somebody in the comments, I think it's Professor Mark, and he said we have to move to the center. I don't necessarily disagree, and I'm very center to the right, but the more behavior that we see from, I'm just going to say the leftists, the further you have to, both sides have to be able to be rational. And right now I don't see rational on one side. Does that make sense, Tony?
It does. But what you said just now, when you said you think people need to move more to the center, I think that we've moved so drastically to the left that the center is now deemed right wing. The Overton window has shifted so far that, I mean, like a JFK Democrat today would be considered a right winger.
That's Donald Trump. Yeah. He was a JFK Democrat. I don't think people realize that. And you had made a great, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, if people just think about it, the majority of the policies that Donald Trump has enacted, the things that he's actually done, these are things that Democrats have been literally advocating for and promising to do for years. They just hate the person who's doing it, which is why when you point out the hypocrisy, what do they always say? Well, we don't like the way he's doing the deportations. Even though Obama deported like triple as many as him. Well, wait, no, way more than that. But it's like there's always an excuse. The tariffs, China, all of these things, Democrats have been saying, if you go back and you play the tapes from Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, all of these people, they were MAGA before Donald Trump was MAGA, before it was called MAGA. Because everything that they said, if you just play the tapes, they were all MAGA, all of them.
Crazy.
Yeah, and yes, thank you for saying that, Aaron, because yes, that is definitely how I feel about how so many people are acting towards our country right now. I have been to plenty of other countries in the military, being Iraq, Afghanistan. I have been to Dubai, to Germany. This is the greatest country. And I wish I get so mad when I see all these liberals getting so just like this country just sucks and you're a fascist and calling Trump all of these names. And I'm like, you're only thinking of how the news tells you about Trump, because no one said he was racist until he started trying to help the people. And that's what makes me so mad. I don't see how they don't see it. Like, he was never considered racist before he actually started trying to do things for the people and exposing their corruption. And once they realized they couldn't buy him and they couldn't turn him, they just started villainizing him. And too many people are listening to that. And I don't understand why. Because it's clear, like I can see it. So, and I always say I didn't really like Trump like that before, as far as The Apprentice and stuff like that. I just thought it was kind of rude to fire people on national TV. So I didn't watch it. And I didn't really think he was a horrible person. I was just like, it's not my cup of tea. But then when he started running and everyone started saying all these negative things about him, I was like, he's been around since the 80s and 90s, and no one never say anything about him being racist. So I said, why is it now? Everything is because my mom still watched CNN religiously, even though I've been trying to get her away from it. Everything they say is always, everything is Trump's fault. And I'm like, how can you not see what they're doing? I don't see how I'm the only, or as a conservative, seeing how they're doing, because I used to be a Democrat too, voting how they, tell you to in most Black families, until I realized that party was not trying to do anything to actually help people. So I was like, why am I sticking with them?
So what has been the reaction from other Black people when you tell them that you're a conservative or you vote Republican or you?
All the names, like in my comments, there's all the names of I'm a coon and a race trader and all, like I get called all the horrible names as soon as they know I'm conservative without them understanding that I'm the kind of person that would literally give a stranger the shirt off their back. I don't want to see anyone hurt. No one. Like I'm a genuine, just nice person, but the names I get called when I say that I'm conservative and pro-life and pro Second Amendment. I mean, I'm retired Army. You know, I love going to the range. Like that's my thing. But they're so against that. And I said it's only because people are telling them that they should be. That's not the case.
Well, you know what's interesting when you hear other black people call, they call black people, they call you coon and race trader and all of that stuff if you vote Republican, as if in order to be black you have to be a Democrat. And a lot of the language that I usually hear is whenever there's a black conservative who espouses conservative views, they say that you're looking for a pat on the head from white people, as if the Democrat Party isn't filled with white people. So I never understood that. I mean, especially when it comes to white liberal politics, I don't think a lot of our people understand how even in our belief that we may be like, about black independence and liberation, a lot of the things that we're saying, it's just regurgitated white liberal nonsense and cultural Marxism.
Yeah, and that's what I even had to make a rebuttal video to a white liberal in my comments telling me that I voted against myself. And I was like, well, obviously that means you don't understand me or get me at all, because I'm also a patriot who retired from the Army, and then I opened my business during Trump's first administration, and it's still doing really well. So I was like,
yeah.
I don't go with that victim mentality, and you're not going to pull me there. And I try to uplift people and tell people what all they can do. I offer credit help, like for free to people. I'll be like, I have a degree in business management. I know a lot about a lot. So I'm always willing to help, but I get so much negativity as soon as I say I'm conservative. And I'm like, I don't get it. Because my value, a lot of Democrats have those values too.
Well, you never get that negativity here. But listen, thank you for your opinion, your perspective, because I only have like 13 minutes left anyway, so I want to give everybody a chance. But I appreciate what you said too. Politically incorrect.
It's me, Chumbo.
Oh, what up?
Well, once again, we're going to say it. Democrats have found a way to run another company. I'm not going to say the K word. I'm going to say unalive a major airline. They found a way.
You can say it.
They killed another business. They killed an airline system, an ecosystem. That's amazing. And the look, and I told you earlier, a friend of mine works at DFW. He said, you saw the rest in peace flyer he sent me. But he's walking through DFW talking about, look at this, no more Section 8, no more Section 8 airlines. I said, what do you mean? You didn't know? I said, no, what? Oh, Spirit is no longer in business anymore. We ain't got to worry about anything. But you know who that affects? The lower class who can afford to fly to Vegas, to go to wherever they're trying to go. It's just gone. And it's not right, because Democrats are the ones who wanted it gone. Everything they say they were going to protect, the lower class, the people who don't, they just ruined them.
Because a lot of people, I'm seeing mostly black people, Democrats, who keep saying it's Donald Trump's fault. And it's like no one even understands. They don't even know why Spirit Airlines was on the verge of collapse for the past few years.
Well, they don't understand business. That's the first problem. And I think we had this conversation about cars and everything else. The United States, financial infrastructure is so difficult with all the competition. It just couldn't stand the fight against these other companies, other airline systems. And then you have Frontier Airlines. You had Spirit, JetBlue, Southwest is the lower at all of them, and it was lower class. And you know what? That's why they were nickel and diming everybody, trying to stay afloat and trying to do cheap flights, and they couldn't keep up. And all the complaints and everything, that's just what you got. But the sad thing about this is that there are a lot of 17,000 people affected instantly. 17,000 families, 17,000, husband or wives, whoever, don't have insurance,
Yeah. Have you guys seen the
don't have
videos?
anything, gone.
Have you seen the videos of these people?
Right.
Oh man, it's sad, bro. Imagine that. 17,000 people. People have been working there for freaking decades. There people have been, I mean, the company was open for what, like 34
years.
Oh my God. Just one day, poof. Sorry, it's over.
And now
all the
JetBlue.
companies-
JetBlue's on the next. I was on the next go.
And JetBlue is on the chopping block, bro. What happens when JetBlue is gone?
There's a lot of people not flying. They hit.
They better take that Amtrak and that Greyhound bus or the Chinese bus that we got here in New York.
My son just came back from Florida with his family, and they flew JetBlue, and they had a great experience with it. It's too bad to hear that.
And you know what's crazy? Because JetBlue was actually expanding their services. Remember, they opened new terminals within the last maybe 10 years. They were like adding new routes to their flights. They were expanding. So the acquisition of Spirit Airlines was such a smart move, especially in a market where the airfares were just getting so exorbitant because of the consolidation of the other airlines that created the Big Four. So JetBlue and Spirit merging would have been exactly the balance that was needed in the airline industry. But the Biden administration, being led by Elizabeth Warren, AOC, Pete Buttigieg, and others, they killed the deal. They killed the deal. While under the Obama administration, that's when that's when the Big Four were created. How could you not argue? How could you not see that this has been a deliberate effort to consolidate wealth to the top players and eliminate the competition that was creating downward pressure to balance the pricing for budget travelers?
I think the other thing that even though all these policies are hurt the airlines, if you go back in history with TWA, Continental, ITA Airlines, when they allowed all these mergers to happen, the government never got involved. It just happened. And the other part they're not looking at, I think people the interest rates are just too damn high where they can't even refinance the debts to get out of some of these issues. And this is this is what they're saying. Everything is so political. It's being controlled. Like Powell not wanting to leave the Fed. He wants to go against precedent and just stay longer to cause more problems for the Fed, the interest rates. And it's just a big problem. It's just a big political mess right now. And it's the damn left. It's the Democrats. They don't want this country to prosper. They want to be socialized. They want the government to control everything.
You know, when I read the
worse than
comment,
that.
I'm gonna let you go right now, Contrary. I want to respond to something I see in the chat, right? Because I see somebody saying, why are you blaming Biden but never blame Trump? Because this was literally the Biden administration that did that. You see, when you think in terms of teams, you're not going to really understand or get the message, because we've provided a lot of information on this, right? And you have to do your due diligence in order to understand what's going on. You know, if all you ever hear is, why are you blaming Democrats? It makes you defensive, and then you shut your ears to it. You don't want to hear it. You got to let your defenses down. I criticize Republicans all the time. I criticize Donald Trump all the time. Shit, I got half a MAGA coming from my head, but it doesn't matter. Listen, being objective doesn't require that you be neutral. Being objective requires that you're willing to call balls and strikes as you see them, no matter who is wrong or who's more wrong in the moment. You have to be measured, and you have to be logical, and you got to be willing to just tell the truth. And the problem, and the real fact of the matter is, I'm sounding like Joe Biden, the fact of the matter, the fact of the matter is, all of this was at the hands of Democrats. And if you can't even recognize that in this moment, then I'm terrified for the future direction of this country, not because of Donald Trump, not because of Congress, but because of you, the American people, who are unwilling to educate themselves enough to be able to push back even against your own party.
The question you didn't ask, Tony, I mean, a little country wants to go, is that you got to ask, if the DOJ, Buttigieg, Warren, Biden administration never got involved with this, let the transaction happen, where would they be at today? Would JetBlue be $8 billion in debt? Talking about losing $1.3 billion this year alone as well, being not almost $10 billion at the end of this year in debt right now, having to pay Spirit Airlines. Where would they be if they would have never got involved? That's the question people ought to ask. If Warren never opens her mouth, if nobody, they just let the transaction happen, where would they be at today?
Yep. So go ahead, Contrary. What's up? How you doing?
You guys are amazing. You do a fantastic job, Tony.
Oh, thank you.
What I want to say is that the confusion, which is we're always confronting this confusion. Why won't these people just cop to the truth, follow the truth? And the answer, unfortunately, is going to sound religious, because in a certain sense, they're possessed by evil. And what do I mean by that? There's a thing where being unable to acknowledge what's wrong with yourself, what's wrong within you, gets to a certain point where you're so stubborn. They now have research in those. You will rewrite reality to fit your accusation. And if you're around some of these people and they're your friend and they make these accusations to you so strenuously, you'll question yourself, you'll doubt yourself. And that's what's going on here. You had it just right. You said you're scared for America, not because of Trump and whoever, but because of the average American. But this necessity of recognizing, in a sense, evil for what it is, but that's what Solzhenitsyn, when he defected, said. He said, you don't understand communism, you need to read Dostoevsky's The Possessed, whatever else you want to read, I don't care. But the point is, evil is real. All right? And then we don't need to make a bonfire and do weird shit. But we need to understand when lying becomes compulsive, you have to look at the underlying necessity and understand where this compulsion comes from and deal with it as such. And don't argue with it too much. But anyway, thank you, Tony.
Well, thank you. Professor Mark, I see you in the chat. You've been saying a lot in the chat, and I invited you up, and you said, I'm not coming up to be attacked. You see, I think that's the problem. Now, I don't attack anyone. You're being a little aggressive in the chat, and I'm inviting you up for a conversation. This is just to anybody. Don't get comfortable being keyboard warriors, right? You can come up and you can have conversation. That's one of the most toxic elements of social media is the comment section. That's when people get to say the most reckless, ignorant, and just dumb things, right? And they love to question people. They love to make it seem like you don't know what you're talking about, but they never ever want to step up to the challenge to articulate their opinions in the box. Have a conversation, because they'll never be effective that way. They're only effective when they get to hide in the chat. And I just want you guys just to realize that, right? So pay more attention to the people who are actually speaking and participating in the conversation than the people who are just trolling in the chat or just saying things without any willingness to come up and back it up. But yeah, so I'm 58 minutes in. I've been trying to keep these as 1 hour segments. So I appreciate y'all. If there's anybody who wants to come up, if you're a Democrat or a Black Democrat and you disagree with anything that I've said, I would love for you to come up and we have the conversation before I end this live. But I'm sorry, folks. We got to start taking information and the responsibility of seeking information way more seriously. Because if we don't question things, which I would say is our moral imperative, if we don't question things, we're nothing more than mouthpieces for someone else's agenda. And you don't want to do that. Keep asking questions, folks. And thank you for joining me once again on Tony Talks. Now, let me just shut this down over here and we get to it. I'm actually do the same outro. Let me turn this down for a second. So thank you for joining me. I appreciate you guys. I will be back again. I was just testing this out as a first episode. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll talk again very soon. Thank you for joining me. Welcome. Thanks for joining me on Tony Talks. I'll see you guys later.